everybody, Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you another deck on Pokemon TCGO, and today I am bringing you a deck centered around Ninetales Break from Evolutions. And before I get into the deck, just a reminder that if you like this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, and maybe subscribe. It really helps us out a lot and lets us do more for you guys. And as for the question of the day, Sun and Moon have been out for about a week and a half now, and honestly, I love it. I really enjoy the games. I think they're very fun, and they're a nice change of pace from the typical Pokemon games. And one of the things that I like so much about it is the Alolan forms, and that is where this little anecdote is segueing into its relation to this deck. Ninetales obviously has the Alolan form of Ice Ninetales. I mean, Ninetales is obviously usually Fire, and the new Alolan Ninetales and Vulpix are both Ice. And of course, there are a bunch of other Alolan forms like Raticate, Meowth, Sandslash, etc., etc. And my question is, how do you guys want Alolan forms to be incorporated into the TCG? Now, you might be like, okay, well, just put the cards in there with different typings. That's not that hard. Well, yeah, I mean, it is kind of that simple, but it really is not that simple when you think about it. Because do you want them to be treated as their own separate line to where, like, something like, I guess it would be Water type, not Ice type in the TCG. It'd be Water type Vulpix can only evolve into Water type Ninetales, and Fire type Vulpix can only evolve into Fire type Ninetales? Or do you kind of want there to be a little bit of potential crossover where, like, Fire type Vulpix can evolve into Water type Ninetales, who can evolve into Fire type Ninetales Break? I really think that in particular, well, I mean, that line in particular could lead to some pretty interesting stuff, but I'm interested to see what you guys think, how it should be incorporated into the TCG, and if there's already been some stuff out there, I apologize to where they're announcing how it's going to be, but I think that it would be really, really awesome if you could use, like, Water type Vulpix, Water type Ninetales, but then the obvious Fire type Ninetales Break. So, I mean, that's just my opinion. That is completely up to you guys, and please leave your comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you think and why. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. But anyway, on to the deck. Obviously, this is going to be centered around Ninetales Break, 140 HP with the explosive Fireball attack. For 2 energy, does 10. Well, okay, that looks really, really awful. But then you read the ability. Discard all Fire-type energy attached to this Pokemon, and this attack does 60 more for each energy discarded in this way. Well, all of a sudden, you can, for 2 energy, you can hit for 130. That sounds a lot better, right? Well, if you attach 1 more, you're hitting for 190. That knocks out all EXs without fighting Fury Bell, excluding, obviously, Mega and Primal Pokemon. But Ninetales Break is actually really, really powerful, and with cards like Burning Energy and Blacksmith, you can power this guy up so incredibly quickly and hit for a ton of damage. Now, you might be wondering, well, why am I doing Expanded as opposed to Standard? Well, for 2 reasons. One is obviously Blacksmith. I love this card. I really find it kind of a travesty that as soon as Fire types become potentially viable in the TCG, and there are a bunch of Fire type cards that come out that can be used to knock out Pokemon, that Blacksmith is suddenly gone from the format. It really upsets me, and I know upsets my friend Flint even more. But that's the first part, and the second part is because I want to run the Ninetales from Next Destinies, but I'll get to that in a second. I'm just going to start with the Pokemon and go right down the line. We have 3 Shaman because Shaman is Shaman, and Shaman gives setup, and then it's a very, very simplistic line. 3 Shaman, and then we are running 4 Vulpix, 4 Ninetales, and 3 Ninetales Break. That's it. Not running any other Pokemon. We are just focusing this deck solely on Ninetales Break and trying to streamline it as much as possible so we can start attacking and hitting things immediately and taking knockouts with Ninetales Break. That's not Ninetales Break, that's a Ninetales. With Ninetales Break Explosive Fireball. And you can actually do that pretty consistently with this deck, I have found. And then, obviously, running 4 Vulpix. Really, this is the one you want to run because of Singe. The defending Pokemon is now burned. I mean, if you're playing in Expanded, then obviously use this, but if you're playing in Standard, you can't use it, so don't use it. But in Expanded, 100% use this because it already gives you a status condition on your opponent's Pokemon. Now, you might be wondering, why is that big of a deal? Well, this Ninetales is going to be truly the centerpiece of this deck. We will be attacking with Ninetales Break, but this Ninetales is what makes this deck work. And I mean, Hex Flame is pretty good, 20 plus 50 for each special condition on the defending Pokemon, so you can potentially attack immediately. Just play a Ninetales down, play an energy onto it, and you, with combination of Hypnotoxic Laser and Vulpix, if your opponent got burned last turn, you can hit for a good amount of damage. So Hex Flame is not a bad one energy attack, but the reason we are using this Ninetales is for Bright Look. When you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with his or her active Pokemon. Ninetales, when it evolves, is Lysander and a guaranteed catcher. That is why this deck works so well, because Ninetales is able to just be like, hey, you on the bench, come back out here. I'm going to knock you out with Hexed Flame or Explosive Fireball or whatever, and having 3 of these effects in the deck is absolutely amazing. And I know I'm running one of these Ninetales for the Barrier Shrine, like each player can't play Stadium cards. That's kind of a way to lock our Scorched Earth into play if your opponent's running like Mega Rayquaza or Rainbow Road or something like that, to where you can disrupt them a little bit or something like that. But either way, I mean, if you want to get rid of this guy, you can. I'm just showing you the options that you have in this deck, which is why I threw one of these Ninetales in here. But if you want to run 4 of this particular Ninetales, I cannot blame you one bit. In fact, I encourage you to run as many copies of this Ninetales as you can, because Bright Look is such an incredible ability, and Hexed Flame is a pretty solid attack for 1 energy, and then obviously 3 of the Ninetales break to be able to use Explosive Fireball. Now, as for the items, running 1 computer search just to, you know, get literally anything we could want in the deck, like a Burning Energy or a Hypnotoxic Laser or something like that. Computer search is just way too good to pass up. Running 2 Hypnotoxic Lasers, and you might be thinking, wait, you're running Hypnotoxic Laser, but you're running Scorched Earth. What sense does that make? Well, I will tell you. Hypnotoxic Laser, if you play that down, first off, Poison and Potential to Sleep is never a bad thing. Hypnotoxic Laser is such a splashable card, and Virbank, in combination with Virbank, makes it even stronger, but on its own, it's still an incredibly strong card. And the reason I am running a couple copies of these is because of Hexed Flame. Like I said, if you manage to flip heads for the sleep, then you can Hexed Flame for 200, well, not 200, wow, what am I saying? You can Hexed Flame for a single energy, you can hit for 120 damage, which knocks out things like Shaman, Jirachi, stuff like that. In fact, Jirachi's just knocked out with a poison because of weakness. But either way, with Hexed Flame being the main Ninetales we're using, we'd be kind of remiss to not throw at least a couple copies of Hypnotoxic Laser in there. And also, they can stall if you need to. They can be used as a stall tactic. Running 3 Level Ball, because Level Ball, well, a very heavy line of those, because they search out Vulpix and Ninetales. But all of the Vulpix, all the Ninetales are less than 100 HP, so you can get them all out with Level Ball without having to discard anything. 1 Sacred Ash to put a lot of Pokemon back in the deck. It's used over Super Rod because you want that Fire Energy in the discard pile for Blacksmith. 1 Special Charge to put back our Burning Energy in case it gets discarded somehow or Ninetales gets knocked out. 1 Switch, because, I mean, I don't know, this is just kind of personal preference. I like running Float Stones more than Switch just because they give you guaranteed and consistent retreat, but you can definitely use more Switch if you need it. One thing that I tinkered with was running a 1 copy of Keldeo and Float Stones so that you have the Russian and Retreat, but I decided to nix it just for a little more consistency. Again, completely up to you, that's just my opinion. 4 Trainer's Mail to help with consistency, like I said. 4 Ultra Ball to guarantee get everything out. I mean, I know you can run like 1 more Level Ball and 1 less Ultra Ball, but I've been in instances where I have a Level Ball, but I need a Shaman or a Ninetales break, and you can't get that with Level Ball. So 4 Ultra Ball just guaranteed gets you what you want at the cost of discarding a couple cards. 4 VS Seeker to reuse all of our supporters, and as for these supporters, 3 Blacksmith. This is the supporter you're going to want to use more often than not, because it powers up Explosive Fireball by 120 damage, and if you use Blacksmith and your manual attachment for the turn, you're all of a sudden hitting for 190. So Blacksmith, 100% the supporter you want to be using most of the time. 1 Hex Maniac, just, I don't know. 1 Hex Maniac is really good for disrupting your opponent, keeping them from being able to play stuff, etc., etc. You can get rid of this and run Pokemon Ranger if you prefer. I just find that Hex Maniac is a little bit better, and Pokemon Ranger can help against Glaceon. I will point that out. And in this deck, with this build right here, you kind of just auto-lose to Glaceon if it can get set up and you can't Lysander or Bright Look your way out of it. But you'd be surprised how many times you can Lysander and Bright Look your way out of it. But either way, Hexmaniac is still a very solid card and can disrupt a lot of decks and buy you a turn that you need. Running one Lysander. Now, honestly, I'm only running one. I know I've said that I like to run two, but because we already have 3 of these Bright Look abilities. We already have 3 of the same effect as Lysander, so we're going to be able to save our supporter for Blacksmith or Professor Sycamore or N or whatever else we want to do. And note how I said this deck can potentially auto-lose to Glaceon. This does have ways around it. So, first off, you can go ahead, play down a Bright Look Ninetales, get the Glaceon out of the active spot, bring up something on the bench, and then you can Lysander the Glaceon back in and knock it out. I mean, it's that simple. This deck has those options just because Bright Look is such a phenomenal ability, and it really can get you out of so many tough situations just by that. Then we're running 1-3 of N and Sycamore for draw support. We don't really need to run that many because of Shaman and because of Scorched Earth. Speaking of which, we are running 3 of these guys. 2 Floatstones for free retreat. There's really... You could put Muscle Band onto Ninetales, but I tampered with that. It really... Well, not tampered with that. I tested with that, but it really doesn't help with the math that much. I mean, even Silver Bangle, it's only hitting... If you discard 2 energy, you're only hitting for 160 with Silver Bangle. And then maybe with like Hypnotoxic Laser that can help a little bit. But I don't know, it just wasn't worth it enough to where I wanted to run Silver Bangle or Muscle Band, so I just opted for Floatstone for the free retreat. Then we were running 4 of the Burning Energy, put those onto Ninetales, discard them with Explosive Fireball, and we get them right back. And then 7 of the Fire Energy for Scorched Earth and whatever else we need. So yeah, that is the deck. Very streamlined, and it works very well, but I'm done rambling. Let's just go ahead and see this deck in action. Alrighty, we have found one against Samsur 08P with like an Electric Dragon normal deck, so I have 0 clue what my opponent is running. We do win the coin flip. That is great for us. This deck, you pretty much always want to go first. I mean, to be fair, having Vulpix be able to singe isn't a horrible thing, but you still want to go first so that you can get an attack off as quickly as possible and get a Ninetales break set up as quickly as possible. We don't have the luxury of rare candy, so we are unfortunately in a position where we need to work more on where we need to use manual evolutions and only be able to attack with a Ninetales break by turn 3. I mean, you could run Wally. I don't find it's worth it just because it's really not worth it in a lot of scenarios just because you want to manually play the Ninetales from your hand to get that Lysander effect. And I'm going to go ahead and play Floatstone and Energy onto the Vulpix, and then Shaman for some more cards, see what I can get. Oh, okay, that's not bad. I'm going to Floatstone the Shaman, and then screw it, I'm going to Sycamore, might as well. I mean, I get rid of a Burning Energy, which is not something I want to do. Get another Vulpix, that's not bad. Let's go ahead and Ultra Ball, get rid of the Hexmaniac and the VS Seeker to grab a 3rd Shaman, or not a 3rd Shaman, I have 3 Vulpix, I have 2 Shaman to grab a 2nd Shaman, see if we can get set up even further and just go from there. And then I get another Level Ball, I can get another Shaman, or not another Shaman, why do I keep saying Shaman? I can get another Vulpix if I want, but I think I'm just going to save that for a Ninetales for next turn. And okay, so we do see, well, that's a little bit scary. My opponent is already getting the Jolteon powered up, and we don't have to worry about it at all because we have Ninetales in this deck, and my opponent plays Miltank down. That's interesting. I wonder what he's doing. So he's going to Swift. Will not knock out my Vulpix. Thank you, that extra 10 HP. I even draw into a Ninetales. Well, not the Ninetales I want. But I am going to go ahead, Level Ball for the Bright Look Ninetales. Play that sucker down. Bring the Miltank in because Miltank will not be able to knock out my Ninetales, and it will buy me the turn I need. So, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. And then Ultra Ball, maybe? Or do I want to... Yeah, Ultra Ball, get rid of the Ninetales and the Switch. I don't think I'll need the Switch at all to grab another Ninetales. No, let's grab another Vulpix. Let's just grab another Vulpix. Play that sucker down onto the bench. Go ahead and I could Sycamore. Yeah, let's just Sycamore. Just try to get as set up as possible. And okay. So let's Special Charge first, put the Burning Energy back into the deck, go ahead and... How many energy do I have in the discard pile? Might as well play another onto... I want to play one onto the Ninetales. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Level Ball, grab another Ninetales, And there's nothing left in my deck to level ball for, so this card is pretty much useless unless my opponent ends, so I'm just going to get rid of that, and then go for a Hex Flame, do a whopping 20 damage to this Miltank, and I'm actually in an incredible position for next turn, because I can go ahead, Blacksmith, onto the active Ninetales, and then play another Ninetales down, bring the Jolteon in, and knock that sucker out with explosive Fireball, and I even get a Burning Energy, so that is great. What I am going to do is... Actually, I don't even need to go for the Blacksmith this turn. And I don't need to play my Ninetales down. So I'm going to save the Ninetales, go for the Lysander this turn. That way I have the Blacksmith and the Ninetales for next turn, if I need it. And then knock out the Jolteon, get that Burning Energy back onto my Ninetales, and I even draw another Ninetales. So this just shows you how versatile this deck can be. To get a Lysander or Catcher effect, I didn't even have to play a Lysander or Catcher. And my opponent honestly just looks like they're not getting much of anything. Okay, never mind. They have a Sycamore. They went ahead and just played the energy down onto the Miltank. See him get rid of a couple rare candies. I have no idea. What is my opponent playing? So he plays Dragonite? That's so weird. I don't know. I have no idea what my opponent's playing. Oh boy. Well, if my opponent has a... Well, I guess he can't have a Dragon Energy. Can't play a double Dragon because he already used his energy for the energy attachment for the turn onto the Miltank. So let's go ahead and play the Blacksmith, and then I'm going to go ahead and Ninetales just because I have another Ninetales in my hand. That way if my opponent ends me or something or knocks out my Ninetales break next turn, I have the potential for another Ninetales break. That's why I played the Ninetales down. That way I would have a potential for a Ninetales break next turn if somehow my opponent knocked out this Ninetales, but I would also have the Bright Look in my hand and ready to go. So my opponent plays a Double Dragon onto his Dratini. Let's go ahead and play a Burning Energy onto that. Go ahead and VS Seeker grab... Well, not VS Seeker. Go ahead and Trainer's Mail for a VS Seeker. And then, you know what? Okay, let's just use the Bright Look. I don't even need to waste a supporter this turn. Bring in that Dratini, knock that sucker out with an Explosive Fireball, and get both of those energies back onto my Ninetales break. Draw another prize, and it's a Hypnotoxic Laser. So basically... I don't know if there's a way my opponent can win, and, well, now there's zero way my opponent can win because he just concedes. We are able to win that match with Ninetales Break doing a ton of work. So, yeah, not the most competitive deck by my opponent, but I still got to show off Ninetales Break just repeatedly knocking out EX's Bright Look, putting in a ton of work, bringing in stuff that my opponent didn't want in, bringing stuff back in when I had the opportunity to knock it out. So, I mean, that's exactly how this deck is supposed to work. And that was a very, very short match. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to go ahead and try to find another one with this deck. Alrighty, we have found another one against at Yanta 1 with, looks like a Volcanion deck. So this could be very, very interesting. See if Ninetales Break can keep up with a deck that has proven to be quite the threat in Standard play. I mean, I know Expanded is so ridiculously different than Standard, but either way, Volcanion is still a threat, and using a very, I wouldn't even call it a rogue deck, just a fun deck in Ninetales Break. Let's see if we can keep up with a deck that has been deemed competitive. My opponent is taking quite a while to pick the coin flip. I mean, this is a very tough decision. I mean, you have heads or tails. You have two choices. It's a very, well, okay, picks heads, gets it right. That's unfortunate, so we will go second. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world. I mean, I can go for a burn, get like a Hexed Flame off, stuff like that. So it's not horrible, but not great. And also, well, I mean, I could have gone for Hypnotoxic Laser if I had a Pokemon still out. So, okay, so actually don't start with something bad. I mean, this is actually pretty nice. Go ahead and get a Vulpix, get a Ninetales, get a Fire Energy for the discard pile, get a Sycamore. I mean, we really get anything we want. Well, all that we could want right now. And, okay, my opponent does start with a Volcanion in the active. That is great. That means that he will have to waste a Switch or a Floatstone or in order to retreat, or he just won't be able to attack. Or he'll just have to wait a turn and not be able to do anything. So this is very good start for us. I mean, he granted... Okay, never mind. It's a great start for him as well because he has 3 Volcanion EXs and a baby Volcanion out, and all I have is a lone Vulpix staring those guys down, just going, Eep. So this should be interesting. At least I have access to other Pokemon, and I'm not just going to get absolutely obliterated this first turn. However, if people could still attack turn 1, then I'd be screwed. But either way, let's just go ahead and discard Blacksmith and Ninetales, I think. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that to grab... Yeah, let's just grab another Vulpix, and then I'm going to Ultra Ball, get rid of the Fire Energy and the Special Charge to grab a Shaman, I think. Actually, you know what? It's because I have a Sycamore in my hand, and Vulpixes are going to be dropping like flies. I'm just going to try to get 3 Vulpix out, and potentially even 4, given the right scenario, and just try to go from there. So, okay. That's actually not bad. So I get Fire Energy onto my Vulpix. And I get a Hypnotoxic Laser, I get a Computer Search. This isn't bad. So what I'm going to do is Hypnotoxic Laser, try to buy myself a turn. Do get heads, that is phenomenal. And then let's go for a Singe. That way, with the poison and potentially a burn, I can knock this guy out with a Hexed Flame next turn, even if he wakes up. So he does... Well, it does flip heads on the burn, but it flips tails on the sleep, so we will be able to knock this guy out, even if my opponent has a Fighting Fury Belt with a Hexed Flame next turn. My opponent is just going to Skyla, probably for a switch or something like that. But Sparkling... Who the heck runs Sparkling Robe? That is... Oh my gosh. Who the heck runs Sparkling Robe? That is like the first time I have seen that in a actual match. I mean, besides... That's the first time I've seen that in a real deck and not just a completely random thrown together one that you face sometimes on TCGO. But my opponent is running freaking Sparkling Robe. What the heck? And he's able to knock out my Vulpix. So that sucks. Sparkling Robe. What the heck? I can't believe that. I can't believe that's a thing. Well, I am just going to go ahead and play the Burning Energy onto the Vulpix, Computer Search, get rid of Ultra Ball and Blacksmith to grab a Ninetales. I'm just going to go ahead and grab a Ninetales. Bright Look, bring in the Volcanion with no energy and no Float Stone, and then just Sycamore. I could have gone for a Shaman right there. But honestly, I mean, I need to get things going. I really do. Let's Trainer's Mail, see what we can get. Okay, another Sycamore, that's fine. And then Trainer's Mail again, hopefully. Let's grab an N. Let's actually grab an N. So that's fine. And yeah, I'm just going to Hex Flame. Hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully something can go my way next turn. Man, Sparkling Robe. Really? I mean, I know I'm stuck on that, but who runs Sparkling Robe? That's not even a thing. But either way, hoping my opponent with a hand of 4 doesn't have the means to retreat his Volcanion, because otherwise, if he does and he gets more energy, then this could be a very, very quick game. My opponent does just Pokemon Fan Club. We know he doesn't have a Shaman, so this is great. And okay, just going to bring in the Victini. Just going to grab a Victini and a Volcanion. So my opponent clearly didn't have anything. Bright Look was able to come through, not as a Lysander, but as a stall tactic in this sense. So, ooh, even get another Ninetales. Ooh, I can knock out that Volcanion. That is great. So let's play the Burning Energy there. Will that be enough? Yeah, it will. I'll be able to hit for 130, so let's go ahead and play the Ninetales Ninetales down. Bring in the Volcanion, because that's the only thing that can attack right now. Go ahead and play down the Ninetales break, then go ahead and Hex Maniac. That way my opponent still can't knock me out with a Steam Up Power Heater next turn. So gonna discard both Burning Energy. Just kidding, they are right back. And oh, I even draw Blacksmith. That is even better. I can power up my what is that? That's a Ninetales. I can power up my Ninetales. Why am I having so much trouble with the Pokemon? I literally run 3 in this entire deck: Shaman, Vulpix, and Ninetales. I don't know why I'm having trouble, but either way, we will be able to get a knockout next turn as well, because I have the energy in my hand. I have Blacksmith. My opponent plays a Victini. Okay, so oh, geez, he gets the teammates too. Wow. Okay, so that happened, and I'm wondering. I mean, either way, I have their abilities turned off, so he will not be able to knock me out, especially because he can't play Blacksmith anymore thanks to the teammates. He does just go ahead and get a Professor's Letter to get a couple of energy, gets another Professor's Letter, so it looks like my opponent double Professor's Lettered in order to, well, with his teammates. So we know he has 3 fire energy in hand right now. My opponent is going to Turbo Energize. I mean, that's a cool way of getting... That's a cool way of accelerating along with Power Heater Volcanion. So the only thing that I'm taking away from this is that my opponent will have less energies in the deck and be less able to Power Heater and Steam Up. Well, he'll still be able to Power Heater just because that does 2. That takes a single energy. But okay, so I get some stuff. What I am going to do is N to... Do I want to N or do I want to Sycamore? You know what? I don't want to get rid of that other Ninetales. I'm just going to N. Get some more stuff, and okay, so this is great. What I can do is go ahead and level ball for that last Vulpix. Play that guy down. Probably play the Floatstone. I'm going to play the Floatstone onto my active Ninetales just because I know that Volcanion is going to be coming in, and it's going to be coming in with a Vengeance next turn, so I need to be able to retreat this guy just in case I want to save my burning energy. And okay, I get a Hypnotoxic Laser. This is great. First thing I'm going to do, grab the Bright Look Ninetales with my level ball, and then play the Hypnotoxic Laser, because if I can get a heads, I can knock it out with Hexed Flame. Awesome. So I can knock it out with Hexed Flame and keep both of my burning energies safe for next turn. Let's go ahead and go back into the Ninetales on the bench, go for a Hexed Flame, knock out the Victini, take 2 more prizes, and be that much closer to winning the game. I even draw another Floatstone. I have VS Seeker for really whatever. I have a Ninetales in my hand for Bright Look to bring in a Volcanion when I need to, and at this point, I'm just trying to power up my Ninetales as much as possible. My opponent gets another Teammates, okay. Who runs 2 Teammates? I mean, I get running 1 and then VS Seekering for it, but who runs 2 Teammates? Yeah, either way, worked for him. Gonna go for a Volcanic Heat. Will hit me for weakness, actually, so that's kind of cool with the water. But now I'm bringing back in my Ninetales. Going to go ahead and I get a Lysander. Don't really need it. Let's go ahead and play the Ninetales down just so I can have a Ninetales break for next turn if I need it. I mean, do I want to waste the Bright Look? I could. Yeah, you know what? I'll just go ahead and waste the Bright Look. I need a Ninetales break for next turn, and I need the ability to have one. So let's play the Burning Energy there. Play the Floatstone onto my Shaman, just in case my opponent tries to stall by Lysandering and stuff like that, and then go for a Blacksmith, power up the Ninetales on the bench. That way I can hit for that 190 next turn, potentially with a Fire Energy or whatever I need, and then I have a Sycamore in my hand to draw. So let's go ahead and go for Explosive Fireball onto the Volcanion, knock that sucker out, get all 3 energy back, although it probably won't matter because my opponent will be able to knock me out next turn anyway. And I draw even another Fire Energy, so that is great. The only way my opponent can win, I think, is if he attaches an energy and then ends me down. If he ends me down to 1, then I lose, but if he doesn't, then I think I pretty much win. My opponent can go for a... Okay, so he just Blacksmiths. Well, then I think... Okay, I still need the Ninetales break. I still need that last Ninetales break in order to win, but with a combination of Scorched Earth and Professor Sycamore, admittedly all my Ultra Balls are gone. Well, okay, I guess I win anyway. I mean, it could have gotten scary right at the end if I hadn't been able to get that last Ninetales break with Scorched Earth and Ultra Ball. But either way, able to pull out the victory. Ninetales break was able to come through against Volcanion and Volcanion EX, which is a actually competitive deck in Standard. In Expanded, it's still pretty solid, I would say, because of the combination of Blacksmith, Steam Up, all of that stuff, and all the extra fire support that there is in Expanded. So, you know what? I consider this an upset. Ninetales was able to come through, even against type advantage, because Volcanion is water. So, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Leave your comment in the comment section below as to how you would like to see the Alolan forms interact with existing cards in the TCG, like Ice-type Ninetales interacting with Fire-type Ninetales, etc., etc. And thank you so much for watching again. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff. And this is Styx, signing out. Why not? See you guys.